In a stunning development out of Washington, D.C., a federal judge has ruled that there is probable cause to hold the Trump administration in criminal contempt for defying a court order to halt deportations under the rarely invoked Alien Enemies Act. U.S. District Judge James Boasberg, in a scathing 46-page decision issued Wednesday, April 16, 2025, accused the administration of willful disregard for his March 15 order, which demanded an immediate stop to the deportations of alleged Venezuelan gang members and the return of any planes already in the air. This ruling marks a significant escalation in the ongoing legal battle between the judiciary and the executive branch, raising questions about the rule of law and the limits of presidential power. The controversy centers on the Trump administration's use of the Alien Enemies Act, a 1798 law historically employed only during times of war, to deport more than 130 Venezuelan migrants to a notorious prison in El Salvador. The administration invoked the act on March 15, claiming that the Tren de Aragua gang constituted a hybrid criminal state, invading the United States. Judge Boasberg, appointed by former President Barack Obama, issued a temporary restraining order, TRO, that same day prohibiting the deportations and ordering any airborne flights to turn back. However, the government proceeded with the flights, delivering hundreds of migrants to Salvadoran authorities, an action Boasberg described as spiriting out individuals who were actively challenging their deportations in U.S. courts. Boasberg's ruling does not mince words. The government's actions on that day demonstrate a willful disregard for its order, he wrote, emphasizing that the administration's defiance undermines the Constitution itself. He pointed to social media posts by top officials, including Secretary of State Marco Rubio, who appeared to celebrate the continuation of the flights despite the court's directive. The Constitution does not tolerate willful disobedience of judicial orders, especially by officials of a coordinate branch who have sworn an oath to uphold it, Boasberg declared, signaling his intent to hold accountable those responsible for the violation. The judge has given the Trump administration a one-week deadline, until April 23, 2025, to purge its contempt by proposing ways to rectify the violation. One potential remedy, Boasberg noted, would be to regain custody of the deported individuals, allowing them to challenge their removability through habeas proceedings in U.S. courts. However, he stopped short of mandating this course of action, instead inviting the administration to suggest alternative solutions. If the government fails to comply, Boasberg warned, he will move to identify specific officials responsible for defying his order and refer them for criminal prosecution, a step that could lead to fines or imprisonment. This ruling comes in the wake of a Supreme Court decision on April 7, 2025, which lifted Boasberg's original TRO on technical grounds, finding that the case was filed in the wrong jurisdiction. The High Court, in a 5-4 ruling, held that challenges to deportations under the Alien Enemies Act must be brought via habeas petitions in the district where the migrants are detained, not in Washington, D.C. However, all 9 justices unanimously agreed that migrants are entitled to judicial review before deportation, a principle Boasberg argues was violated when the administration rushed to deport individuals without due process. The fact that the Supreme Court later found the order legally defective does not excuse the government's violation, Boasberg wrote, underscoring that court orders must be obeyed until overturned. The American Civil Liberties Union, ACLU, which filed the original lawsuit challenging the deportations, has responded to the Supreme Court's guidance by launching new legal challenges in multiple jurisdictions, including New York and Texas. These cases aim to protect Venezuelan migrants who claim they were wrongly labeled as gang members and deported without adequate notice or opportunity to contest their removal. The ACLU argues that the Trump administration's use of the Alien Enemies Act, which has been invoked only 3 times in U.S. history, during the War of 1812, World War I, and World War II, is an unprecedented overreach as the law was intended for military hostilities, not criminal activity during peacetime. The Trump administration, for its part, has maintained that the Alien Enemies Act grants the president broad authority to address national security threats, including the activities of foreign gangs. Following the Supreme Court's ruling, President Trump celebrated the decision as a great day for justice in America on social media while calling for Boasberg's impeachment, a move that drew a rare rebuke from Chief Justice John Roberts, who defended the independence of the judiciary. The Justice Department has yet to comment on Boasberg's latest order, but previous statements have questioned the judge's authority and denied any violation of his orders, claiming the flights were already out of U.S. airspace when the TRO was issued. The case has sparked intense debate, with supporters of the administration arguing that swift deportations are necessary to combat gang violence, while critics, including legal scholars and immigrant advocates, warn of the dangers of bypassing due process. The administration's decision to partner with El Salvador's president, Nayib Bukele, who agreed to house the deportees in a terrorism confinement center, in exchange for payment, has further fueled controversy. Bukele's social media post mocking Boasberg's order with a crying from laughter emoji and the caption, "Oopsie. Too late," underscored the international dimensions of the dispute. As the April 23 deadline approaches, all eyes are on the Trump administration's next move. Will it comply with Boasberg's order and propose a path to rectify its actions, or will it double down on its defiance, risking a historic contempt prosecution? The outcome could set a precedent for the balance of power between the judiciary and the executive branch, particularly in matters of immigration and national security. Meanwhile, the fate of the deported migrants remains uncertain, with many reportedly facing harsh conditions in El Salvador's prison system. The ACLU and other advocates continue to fight for their right to judicial review, ensuring that this legal saga is far from over. This is a developing story, and we'll bring you updates as the situation unfolds. Stay tuned for the latest on this high-stakes clash between the courts and the Trump administration.